smartwatch is not a particularly new concept, but within the last few months, the hardware and software that make up such a product have taken a radical step forward. Samsung and Sony have been pushing the market along with their versions, but the availability of Android Wear from Google has helped take the smartwatch concept from something that a geek might wear to something that anyone on the street may consider as an option. Personally, not sold on the idea of a smartwatch, for the last 6 weeks I have been using the G Watch, and after a few weeks of use, I can honestly say that my opinion is changing. Packed into this little square box is a lot of technology: a 400 mAh battery, a 1.65-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 280 by 280, a 1.2 GHz processor, 512 MB of RAM and 4 GB of internal storage. On the whole, it has been relatively comfortable to wear. At 63 grams and 9.95mm thick, it's not the lightest, so I did feel the difference against a normal watch, but only occasionally. Whilst it is possible to change the wristband to any other 22mm strap, I have chosen not to, as I found the silicone one provided comfortable enough. The watch has taken a few knocks, inevitable of something worn on the wrist, but it bears no obvious battle scars. Instinctively, I ended up checking for damage on the G Watch more than I would with a normal watch, but the fact that after 6 weeks there is no damage is a good sign. Whilst you might, I do not wear a watch in bed. I did try it with the G Watch, but it was just a bit bulky for me catching on the duvet or pillow. Being IP rated is a major bonus. Whilst you do not want to soak in the bath with it on or go swimming in the sea, it will survive the rain, a splash from the sink and a few dunks in the washing up bowl. Whilst the G Watch screen does not have the same resolution of the Samsung alternative, I found it perfectly usable for the type of information I received on my wrist. I found the screen size to be ideal for my wrist. I know others may desire bigger screens, but there has to be an element of practicality. For the majority of the time, I had the screen set to medium brightness and rarely felt the need to increase it. In almost all conditions, unless particularly bright sunlight, did I need to shield the screen. A bonus too is that the fingerprints do not seem to be too much of an issue on the display. I found the touch element of the display to also be pretty good when it came to responsiveness. But one criticism is that you can a little too easily activate the screen inadvertently. For example, if I crossed my arms, my opposing wrist or forearm may activate the screen. There is a 9-axis accelerometer gyro built into the G Watch. This worked okay, but I felt sometimes when on my wrist to activate the screen, without voice I had to exaggerate the motion of turning my wrist for the backlight to come on. So unlike a conventional watch, the G Watch needs charging. Most will charge it daily, but depending on your use you may get 2 days out of it. The dock is magnetised to the watch and holds firmly in place. It will not fall off. A normal micro USB cable then connects to the dock and charges the watch in around 1 hour. What I like about the dock is that on the base is double-sided tape that can be used to fix it in position on your desktop. Great if you leave it in one place, not so great if you want to take the charger with you. This is where the G Watch perhaps falls down. Whilst no fiddly connectors on the watch, the provision of, or the ability to purchase a spare charging dock would go a long way. In my testing I got 39 hours out of it, from full charge to turning itself off. That included a full working day, an 8-hour sleep and then the remaining hours working under what I deem average conditions. I was very pleased by this and thought that this was admirable when you consider how much it can actually do. When it is running out of power, it will vibrate at several intervals when you reach 20% remaining power. The hardware is one thing, the software is another, and this is ultimately what it is all about. Android Wear is incredibly powerful. It definitely has a wow factor, and my mum, who's not into tech, was amazed at how it all worked. She did ask the question as to why, and this is a very valid question. To benefit and see the value, you have to be a connected individual, and those who check their emails every few days and could not care for social media at this time will see less value in Android Wear. Just to be clear, Android Wear is Google's wearable technology software and is based on Android and integrates at the time of recording only with smartphones running Android 4.3 or higher and Bluetooth version 4. This does limit many users of Android and other OS platforms. Interaction with Android Wear is via voice or the fingertip. You can do anything from a web search for your favourite celebrity to changing the music playing to finding out how many steps you have taken. The result you will be given will depend on what you ask of it, so you may get a web search result or you may get a screen showing your steps. It can be a little too easy to clear notifications when you do not intend to. This might just be me as a user getting a bit carried away, but swipe it right too quick and it's gone, unless you go to the app on the phone to retrieve it. On first use, the layout is not particularly intuitive, and getting to the settings and certain features feels a bit fiddly. The lack of buttons has something to do with this, but the installation of a third-party app called Wear Mini Launcher transformed this experience, and I feel is something that is necessary for Google to look to include as standard in later versions. How useful and powerful Android Wear is to you will depend on what phone features and apps you rely on. A case in point is that I was testing this with my Sony Xperia Z1 Compact. Whilst I could dictate a text message, I could not reply to one by voice message because I use the default Sony messaging app rather than Hangouts. An email, on the other hand, that arrived in my Gmail account could be replied to by voice. More and more apps are extending support for Android Wear, but most notifications come through without issue. With the likes of Gmail, you get a notification, tap the notification, and for plain text emails you can read the whole email right there on your wrist. Swipe right to open it on your phone or reply. The whole voice dictation thing does work, but it's a bit hit and miss. I found that 75% of the time I got what I wanted, but 25% of the time it misinterpreted what I said, or the environment was too busy, etc. It is proof that the concept works, but for the vast majority it is just not there yet. I did accidentally send text messages to the wrong person on occasions because of similar names or Google not quite interpreting what I said. Whilst there is an option to cancel the send, this is less than 10 seconds, and by the time you get to cancel it or realise something is wrong, the message has gone. On occasions there is an apparent delay, and sometimes it comes up and says it's disconnected at the end of trying to search, when it was connected just 30 seconds earlier. They are small frustrations that spoil some of the experience. Ask Google to navigate you to a local petrol station or attraction and it goes off and gets the route. Ask it to navigate to a particular postcode or contact and it's not yet possible. However, plot this from your phone and the directions are put on your wrist. I found this particularly useful on foot or when driving for a quick glance. You do also get a vibrate just before a change of direction. You can use your voice to change the music you may be listening to. The watch is a screen that can distract you. I do not encourage in-vehicle use, but you can probably understand how this could be considered dangerous. Depending on what you ask of Google will depend on the result. For example, asking "what is the time in New York" will result in a nice card that shows the time, whilst "where can I buy shoes" is going to give you an optimized web page listing. Great, but you now have to open it on your phone to actually view it. The integration with Google Keep is particularly useful, and saving quick reminders is excellent. In most situations, if you got a notification on your phone, you may look at it if convenient, but you might not take a look at it if you're in a meeting with your boss. With Android Wear, the notification still comes through to your wrist and vibrates, unless you mute it, so you will likely have a quick glance at your wrist. All well and good, but on a few occasions people thought I was clock watching when in fact I was looking at what notification I had. With the always on screen, at night the watch face was quite bright and a little inconvenient. Whilst you can switch the device off, it is not that simple or practical. I ended up turning it over most of the time to dull the light. The G-Watch will vibrate and show you who is calling. You can answer, reject, or reject with a text message. Only issue is you cannot then complete that call from the watch. You need to get your phone out. There is no speaker, so while speaking to my wrist and having it play back the call audio is not something I would want in every scenario, it would be useful on occasions. Google Fit is a pedometer element of the Android Wear OS and is fairly basic at the moment. There is no ability to add other activities for more detailed tracking. For example, putting in a cycle, a swim, and maybe what you have eaten for the more fitness conscious. I am sure this will all come in time, but it's not there yet. It also stores only 7 days of steps, which is poor really. As I mentioned, other additions are coming, and some nice ones I have already tried and can confirm work reasonably well are a calculator app, remote camera shutter button and viewfinder, Find My Phone, and IFTTT amongst others. What you add to Android Wear will be based on your desires and lifestyle. Some may add flight apps, whilst others may integrate news. This is the appeal of Wear. Based off Google Now, it intelligently delivers to your wrist the information you need when you want it. Android Wear is an exciting evolution in mobile and wearable technology. In the few weeks I've been using it, I have already seen advances and more reason to own such a product. I know I will personally purchase one of the Android Wear products in the not too distant future. It has without doubt meant me interacting less with my smartphone, leaving emails or messages for longer, and generally better managing my time. Many will still deem the technology applicable only to geeks, and for the next year or so there is likely to be some truth in this. However, time and investment from developers and designers will transition this into something that most will see value in. The hardware will affect the desirability of the product, making the watches more suitable for different wrist sizes, and design tastes will affect the success. You need to try and see the long-term benefits of Android Wear, but if you regularly interact with your phone, there are clear advantages to Android Wear and the wearable technology like this. Sell yourself into an ecosystem, you do, but you do it at the price of efficiency and convenience, and in today's world there is a lot of argument for this. Android Wear and wearables is the future, and I will be watching with real interest.